Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going to be looking at October 25th.
Oh, cool.
And we're using a really interesting source for this one.
Okay.
The Arabic Wikipedia page for the date.
Oh, wow. That's a really unique perspective.
Yeah, we usually look at things from a Western point of view, but this gives us a chance to see what other parts of the world consider to be the most significant events and people.
I'm really curious to see what we find.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, big political stuff or wars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's also births and deaths of some really fascinating people and even some holidays.
Oh, cool.
That you might not have heard of before.
I love that.
So let's just jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so October 25th, right. Let's go all the way back to 1415.
Okay.
The Battle of Agincourt.
Ah, yes.
You familiar with this one?
Of course. It's one of those battles that just sticks in your memory.
It's a classic underdog story.
Exactly.
You've got these English longbowmen totally outnumbered by the French.
Yeah, like significantly outnumbered.
But they managed to pull off a victory.
Yeah, it was a huge turning point in the 100 Years' War.
Right. You think about a battle like that,
Mm-hmm.
it really changed the course of history.
It did, and it also kind of solidified the longbow's place in military history.
Absolutely.
Like before Agincourt, it wasn't really seen as such a decisive weapon.
Right.
But after that battle, everyone was like, okay, we need to get us some of those longbows.
It's amazing how technology can have such a huge impact on warfare.
It really is.
And speaking of technology, that changed warfare.
Okay.
Fast forward to 1944,
Right.
World War II.
Yes.
October 25th marks the date of Japan's first kamikaze attacks
Oh, wow.
against U.S. ships.
Yeah. That's a really significant moment.
A really dark moment, too, right?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that's hard to wrap your head around.
I mean, just the level of desperation.
Yeah, you have to understand the context.
Right.
Japan was facing defeat.
Yeah.
And these attacks were seen as a way to...
I guess a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, a way to inflict as much damage as possible.
It's a stark reminder of how war can push people to extremes.
Absolutely. It's a really sobering thought.
It is.
Okay, well, let's maybe move away from the battlefield for a bit.
Okay, sure.
Because October 25th also saw some major political developments.
Oh, absolutely. In 1936, we have the formation of the Rome-Berlin Axis.
Oh, right. The pact between Italy and Germany.
Yeah, and at the time,
Yeah.
it might have seemed like just another alliance.
Right.
But it really set the stage for World War II.
It did. It's crazy how these seemingly isolated events can have such massive consequences.
We talk about the butterfly effect.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, this is a perfect example of that.
one decision leads to another, and then before you know it...
You've got a world war.
Exactly.
It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
It really is.
But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, shall we? Let's stick with this theme of nations and their place on the world stage.
Okay.
Because in 1952, we see Lebanon gaining a seat on the UN Security Council.
Oh, right. That was a big deal for Lebanon.
It was. It's not just about symbolism,
Yeah.
A seat on the Security Council gives you real power.
Right. Influence over global policy decisions.
Exactly. From sanctions to peacekeeping missions.
It's a chance to have your voice heard on the world stage.
Absolutely.
And then, less than 20 years later, in 1971, another major shift in global power dynamics.
Oh.
The People's Republic of China joins the Security Council,
Wow.
replacing Taiwan.
That's huge.
Huge, right? This
Yeah.
was during the Cold War.
Right.
And it really reflects the changing alliances.
Absolutely. It's like watching a geopolitical chess game unfold.
Right. The pieces are constantly moving.
Yeah, and each move has these ripple effects
Absolutely.
that can be felt all over the world.
It's amazing to think how much the world has changed
Yeah,
just in the last century.
it really is mind-boggling.
But not all change is on this grand global scale.
It's true.
Sometimes it's a lot more personal
Okay.
and sometimes even dangerous.
Oh,
October 25th, 1977,
okay.
there was an attempted assassination
Wow.
of the Syrian foreign minister,
Really?
Abdul Halim Qadam.
I don't know that name.
Yeah, this happened in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
And tragically, his counterpart from the UAE,
Oh, no.
Saif Gobash,
Okay.
was killed in the attack.
It's terrible.
It really shows you how even events that seem far removed from our daily lives can have very real and sometimes devastating consequences.
It really does. It's a reminder that the world is a complex and interconnected place.
Yeah, and that the actions of individuals can have these ripple effects that we might not even be aware of.
Absolutely.
But, October 25th isn't all about conflict and tragedy.
Okay, good.
There are also stories of innovation and progress.
Oh, I like
Like in 1998,
Okay.
Egypt launched the Peace Canal project.
The Peace Canal.
Yeah, it's this ambitious project
Okay.
to use Nile River water to irrigate the Sinai Peninsula.
Wow. That's a major undertaking.
It was. And it was seen as a big step towards agricultural development for Egypt.
That makes sense.
You know, using technology to overcome resource challenges.
Yeah, that's a great example of how innovation can be used for good.
It is.
Okay, so we've had war, politics, innovation.
Yeah. What else could there be?
Well, maybe something a little closer to home for some of our listeners.
Okay.
Remember October 25th, 2001?
Oh.
The official release of Windows XP.
Oh, Windows XP.
Yeah, love it or hate it.
Right.
It was a major moment in the history of personal computing.
Absolutely. I mean, so many people used Windows XP.
It was everywhere.
It's kind of wild to think how quickly technology changes, right?
It really is. It makes you wonder what the next big thing will be.
Right. Like, what will people in the future look back on and be like, oh, remember when?
Exactly. It's exciting to think about.
It is. Okay, so one more event for this part of our deep dive.
All right.
And then we'll move on to some birthdays.
Sounds good.
2004.
Okay.
Fidel Castro makes a pretty bold announcement.
Oh.
Cuba will no longer use U.S. dollars.
Wow. What a statement.
It was. It was seen as a move towards economic independence.
Right, like a rejection of U.S. influence.
Yeah, and it really sent shockwaves through the region.
I can imagine. It's amazing how one decision can have such a huge impact.
It is. So, as you can see, October 25th has been a day for global power plays, technological advancements, and even individual acts of defiance.
It's been quite a day.
But we're just getting started.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. We've got a whole bunch of incredible people who were born on this date.
I can't wait to hear about them.
Well, you'll have to wait for the next part of our deep dive.
All right, I'm hooked. All right. So birthdays, where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with someone whose music still gets people on the dance floor today.
Okay, I like it.
Born in 1825, the one and only Johann Strauss II.
The Waltz King. I can already hear the Blue Danube playing in my head.
Right. It just transports you to those grand ballrooms in Vienna.
So elegant, so romantic.
His music really captures the spirit of that era.
It does. And you know, he wasn't just about waltzes.
Oh, absolutely. His operettas are still performed all over the world.
Like Die Fledermaus.
Exactly, a classic. But speaking of composers who changed the game...
Oh, tell me more.
We have another one born on this day, Georges Bizet, in 1838.
Bizet? Wait, is he the one who wrote Carmen?
The one and only?
Oh, wow. Carmen is, like, iconic.
It is, and it was pretty groundbreaking for its time.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It broke away from all those traditional opera conventions.
Like what?
Well, it dealt with some pretty intense themes, for one thing.
Like?
Love, jealousy, fate.
Ooh, heavy stuff.
It must have been quite shocking for audiences back then.
I bet. All right, are you ready for another big name?
Hit me with it.
Okay, this one's a giant of the art world. Born on October 25th, 1881, Pablo Picasso.
Picasso. There's no one quite like him.
It's almost impossible to sum up his impact on art.
He was constantly reinventing himself, wasn't he?
Totally. Cubism, surrealism, you name it, he mastered it.
And he wasn't afraid to experiment, to push boundaries.
That's what made him so revolutionary.
He paved the way for so many artists who came after him.
And speaking of artists who came after him, let's jump ahead a few decades.
Okay. Where are we going now?
To the world of pop music. Born on this very same date, in 1984, Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. Now, that's a name everyone knows.
Talk about a pop icon.
She's definitely got that it factor, doesn't she?
Totally. Catchy tunes, those amazing music videos. She's got a whole package.
And she's not afraid to be bold and express herself.
Absolutely. She's a true original. All right. Ready for a change of pace?
Sure. Let's mix things up.
Okay. Let's talk about some leaders born on October 25th who shaped history.
Oh, interesting. Who do we have?
Well, first up, Levi Eshkol. Born in 1895.
Eshkol doesn't ring a bell.
He was the Prime Minister of Israel during the Six-Day War.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty significant time to be in charge.
It was. He had to make some really tough decisions.
I can only imagine the pressure.
But ultimately, Israel emerged victorious, which really changed the dynamics of the Middle East.
Talk about a defining moment in history.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a leader who faced a different kind of challenge.
Okay.
Jorge Batlle, born in 1927.
Another name I'm not familiar with.
He served as president of Uruguay during a major economic crisis in 2002.
Oh, wow. So he had to deal with some serious financial turmoil.
Exactly. It was a tough time for Uruguay and for Latin America in general.
It makes you think about how interconnected the global economy is.
It does. What happens in one part of the world can have ripple effects everywhere. But hey, let's end on a lighter note, shall we?
Always a good idea.
Okay, get ready for some serious athletic talent because October 25th has produced some amazing athletes.
Oh, yeah. I love this part. Who are we celebrating today?
Well, we've got a whole lineup of incredible soccer players born on this date.
Soccer, the beautiful game.
It really brings the world together, doesn't it?
It does. No matter where you're from, everyone understands the passion for soccer.
Exactly. And beyond soccer, we've got some other notable athletes like Cornelia Ender.
Cornelia Ender.
She was a German swimmer born in 1958. She actually won 4 gold medals at the 1976 Olympics.
Wow, 4 gold medals. That's incredible.
It is. Talk about dedication and talent.
Her story is really inspiring. All right, well, we've celebrated some incredible births today.
We have. But now, as we shift our focus to those who passed away on October 25th,
okay,
it's important to remember that this isn't about dwelling on loss.
Of course not.
It's about recognizing the impact they had on the world and honoring their memory.
Absolutely. Their legacies live on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start by going way back to 304 AD.
Okay, what happened then?
That's the year Pope Marcellinus, an early Christian martyr, passed away.
A martyr?
It means he died for his beliefs.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful.
It is. It reminds us of the sacrifices people have made throughout history to stand up for what they believe in.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, now let's fast forward a few centuries to 1400.
Okay.
That's the year we lost Geoffrey Chaucer, author of the Canterbury Tales.
Ah, Chaucer. The Canterbury Tales is a classic.
It is. It gives us such a vivid picture of life in medieval England.
And the stories are still so relevant today.
It's amazing how great literature can transcend time like that.
It really is. All right, who else did we lose on this date?
In 1647, we lost a brilliant scientific mind, Evangelista Torricelli.
Torricelli. That name sounds familiar.
He was the inventor of the barometer.
The barometer. Oh, wow. That's a pretty important invention.
It is. It revolutionized the way we understand weather and atmospheric pressure.
I mean, imagine trying to predict the weather without a barometer.
It would be chaos. So yeah, Torricelli's contribution to science was huge. And finally, for all you movie buffs out there.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
October 25th, 2002, marked the passing of Richard Harris.
Richard Harris.
He was the first actor to play Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films.
Oh, Dumbledore. I loved him.
He was perfect, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He really captured the wisdom and warmth of the character.
He did. He brought so much joy to those films.
He did. So we've covered births, deaths, major events.
It's been quite a journey. But wait, there's more, right?
Oh, yeah. We can't forget about the celebrations.
That's right. October 25th is a holiday in some parts of the world.
It is. And it's interesting to see how different cultures mark this date.
For example, it's Republic Day in Kazakhstan.
A day to celebrate their independence.
Right. I can imagine there are some pretty big celebrations there.
Definitely. It's a day for national pride and reflection on their journey as a nation.
And then we have Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. But isn't that in November?
Not everywhere. In the Virgin Islands and Grenada, they celebrate Thanksgiving on October 25th.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
It just goes to show you how diverse traditions can be.
It does. And it's a reminder that even a single date can hold multiple meanings for different people around the world.
Absolutely. And finally, we have Romania, where October 25th is Armed Forces Day.
A day to honor their military personnel.
Exactly. It's a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who serve their country. Wow, we've really covered a lot of ground today.
We have. From ancient history to modern pop culture.
And everything in between. It's amazing to think about all the stories and events that are connected to this one date.
It really makes you realize that every day on the calendar has a history.
But what does it all mean? What can we learn from exploring history in this way?
Yeah, it really makes you think about the bigger picture, doesn't it?
It does.
Like we see these patterns,
Yeah.
War and peace,
right.
The rise and fall of empires, this constant drive for innovation.
It's all there.
It's like October 25th is like a little microcosm of history itself.
I like that.
Right. And maybe that's the takeaway for our listeners.
Yeah. It's not just about remembering, who was born on this date or what battle happened.
Right.
It's about seeing these bigger patterns.
The connections.
And understanding how they've shaped the world we live in.
Absolutely. Because history isn't just a bunch of facts in a textbook.
It's a story.
It's a living, breathing story.
And it's a story that we're all a part of.
And by exploring just one day in this much detail,
right,
we can start to see how everything is connected.
It's like opening a window to the past.
Exactly.
And suddenly you realize that every date on the calendar has a story to tell.
It does. And who knows what amazing events will happen on future October 25th.
The possibilities are endless.
They are. And that's what makes history so fascinating, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Already.
I know. But we hope you enjoyed exploring October 25th with us.
It was quite a day.
It was. And we hope you learned something new along the way.
We always do.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.